Good afternoon. I'm doing the watch list for the week of 6/29/2020. There's only, I believe, let's see, 2 days, I believe, in June. Yep, 2 days left. I wasn't sure if there was 31 or 30 days in June, but only 2 days left until the second quarter ends. That means earnings is going to come out, but we don't need to talk about earnings right now. That's not going to be for another week or two, but market's down like 10 points right now. A gap down, I think, to about 15 to 20, and it's rebounding a little bit right now because of the COVID-19 outbreak is getting worse, and death rates are getting going up there. But people are actually talking about the cases are going up, but the death rate numbers are going down or not going up with it. That's because usually it takes about up to 2 weeks after you've been confirmed of having it for it to be fatal. So we could see fatality numbers start jumping this week and next week. So not that I want that, because nobody wants that, but realistically, if more people have it, numbers should be going up to in the next week or two. So it could be a very bloody week for the market, but who knows? I thought last week was going to be, and the week before, and it was choppy and erratic. So with that said, I got my bearish list first. Nvidia is up, and Nvidia, you get like a bearish divergence on the daily and the weekly. You can see a huge divergence on the weekly right there to there. We see it the most on the daily, on the histogram, in the price action, and on the RSI. So I'll be looking for a short underneath 360. Actually, I don't even need to say 360. I'd say even 360, 363, because it's going to gap down tomorrow, assuming if the market's not green by the time we open. But we're looking at 363, and if 363 breaks and its momentum is going down, I would look for 350, and if 350 breaks, then I would look for right around, there might be a small bounce in the 337 areas, then there's 326. So it all depends on how bad the market gets. The news, that's going to be very dependent on the news this week. So, and the Fed, if the Fed jumps in and decides to bump, but we'll take the news as it comes. That was Nvidia. Win is the next one. I think that Win is going to end up tanking too, because of the restaurant and bars are closing in Florida. They're gonna. I think that the casinos are going to end up closing, and if they don't close, I wouldn't be surprised if the workers end up going on strike or refusing to go to work, and that's going to definitely affect the casinos. So I would look for underneath, obviously $69, and I like to see it fill a gap right here at 58. And if it gets really, really bad, I think it's quite possible we can get under $50 on Win. So I would watch Win for the downside. I also have Disney. Disney, obviously the theme park in Florida, the cruise lines are still getting hammered. They're not opening, and they're delaying their openings, and Disney Plus is about the only thing that's got positive going right now. So I still think that Disney, it falls underneath the 108 area. It's going to probably go to 106.50. There's a lot of support in the 106 area. Then I would definitely think it's going to go to 100. I think Disney's going to go 100 this week if the market's red. Now, if it gets really bad, there's a panic, we could see 90s again. So that's not out of the card for Disney. Baba, I just saw news again about a bill that's coming out. The U.S. is trying to delist Chinese stocks again, so Baidu and Baba are going to be ones to watch. I've got Baidu on the list. I'll get to that in a second, but I would watch Baba underneath 213 for a run to 210 to even the 207 area. And if it gets to 207, you could see it get to probably 200 mark. There's some stuff right here. There's a pivot right in here at the 202 area, but I think that if it breaks 210, I think it's going to go to 200. So I would watch for Baba for a downside on that news. And if the market's red, it's going to have the China delisting bill coming out and the market going down. So that is something I would definitely keep an eye on. Baidu is in a downward trend. You can see right here on the weekly. This is a good area to short. Plus with the, like I just said, the China delisting news, and if the market's bad, I would look at it underneath 120 to fill the gap to the 117. Then you have 112.50, and then I would say into the 108 area for Baidu. If things get really bad, we could definitely see Baidu at 105. So I would keep an eye on that. Facebook is next. Obviously, if you're not aware of what's going on with Facebook and the tech stocks, a lot of the major companies are pulling their ads from the techs because they just don't want to deal with them and other controversial issues. So they just are going to stop pulling their ads. Big companies, well-known ones, are Starbucks, I think, was the latest one to pull their ads. But so companies like Facebook, Google, Snap, and Twitter that rely a lot of their revenue on ads, that they're going to get hit the most. So I definitely like Facebook underneath the 215, and if it gets under 215 and the market is red, which I hope it will be tomorrow, but if it's not, oh well. But I still think that even if the market's red, Facebook is still going to probably get hammered. Under 210, then we could easily see 200. There's a pivot right here at 200, some support. So I would definitely look for Facebook to make a run at 200 this week on the ad news. I also have Roku. Now Roku, it's been getting a lot of steam, but it stalls out right here at the 134 area. So I would, it's possible that it could come back up to the 134. If it does go to the 134, you get an inverted head and shoulders. Get the left shoulder, the head, and potentially the right shoulder. So it could break out if it gets over it, but if the market's red, it's probably going to dump. And if it does, I would look for it at support right around the 115 area, then 110, then to 100. You got this gap right here that needs to be filled. So if the market's really bad, I would look for Roku to even fill the gap into the 97 area. So just remember that Roku has a fairly bullish setup. If it does manage to get some momentum and it does decide to get over 126, it could get up to 135. Then it could really take off. So beware that there is a possible setup there on the long side for Roku. Netflix, it got hammered on Friday. Obviously, if the market goes down, there's a good chance Netflix will go with it, but not always. There's been some times where the market's red and Netflix goes against it, so be aware of that. But I would look for Netflix under 442 to fill the gap into at least the 435. If it gets to 435, you get some support right here in the 428 area and into the 420. If the market ends up really selling off, we could see 410, 400. 400 could be a really important area if it gets down that far. If it gets down that far and it breaks, it could be pretty bad for Netflix. So assuming the market's red, so that's going to be it on the bearish side. On the bullish side, I get some interesting ones. BIB, you got this, get out of here. Get to the weekly. Oh yeah, see, we get this like inverted head and shoulders right here. You get it, the left, the head, and if it holds right here, which is a weekly support right there and right here, if it does turn around and bounce, that it could be a pretty significant bounce for Biogen. So it is very oversold. you get a bullish divergence right here on the RSI and on the histogram. So we could see BIB get some momentum. So I would watch that over, 362 to 366, and to retest the 273 area. Now, if it gets above the 273 and it gets through that gap resistance, it probably end up filling the gap into the 280s. So I'd watch by BIB for reversal. J&J has some. Johnson & Johnson has some vaccine COVID products. working on. So the news drops out of this, comes out of this, it could pop. So like Lilly, but I think I have Lilly on the list too. I do. Over 138. I think it's got room to 140, even to the 143 area to fill the gap. So Johnson & Johnson, I'd keep an eye out for any news related to the COVID-19 and vaccine stuff. So shop. It just with people closing, restaurants closing, stores closing voluntarily or being forced. Actually, Texas, I think, has ordered restaurants and bars closed. So the governors are stepping up and ordering things to close. So the online shopping things like Shopify, Spotify, and Amazon will do probably really well. So I would look for shop over the 928. If it gets over 928, I mean it's open air. I mean it can go to 1,000. I mean, I'm not saying I'll go to 1,000 this week. It could. It gets over 928. I mean, it's in clean air. I mean, there's no telling how far it could go. It could go to 1,000. 1,000 is going to be a huge psychological number on shop. So, REGN is a biotech, and it looks like it's just every time it gets to the 20 EMA, it quickly bounces up off from it. So I would look for Origin. The only problem with Origin, though, I believe the spread is nasty. I haven't checked the options chain in a while, but I think the last time I did the spreads are really nasty. So if you trade it, be careful and use limit orders. But I would look over 615 for a push to 620. It's a 620. I would watch for 630. And possibly even 640 if it gets any momentum. Now, if it breaks this high of day right here, this all-time high, is that all-time high? Gotta check before I say that. Yep. If it breaks all-time high, I mean, it could easily go to 650. Who knows what kind of strength it's going to have. I don't follow the stock that much, but it is setting up a little bit. So every time it does touch this 20 EMA on the daily, it pops. So, and it touched it right here. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, if more places shut down and people are forced to stay home, even though it's summertime, online gaming is going to do well, just like EA. EA gets over 130, 150. It's probably going to push to 133. And it gets over this 133 area. I would suspect that it's probably going to go to 135 to even 136 on EA. So I would watch EA, get some momentum. Spotify, we already talked about. The only thing I don't like about Spotify is had such a huge pop breakout right here. It's so way outside the Keltner channel that usually when they get that far out, they end up pulling back in. So I'd be cautious of this. But with online retail going up, I mean, this could end up going to. It could go to 280. So I would be careful on this. I mean, over 271 for 280. This thing could even go to 300 if it gets some momentum. But like I said, I worry about it being way outside the Keltner channel on the daily, and the RSI is over 80. So it could be due for a pullback before it makes a new all-time high. Now, if it does pull back, I would look for it into the 242 area on spot. Next one is CI Insurance. Every time it gets to this RCT trend line, it likes to bounce, like it bounced there and it bounced here. So I'm assuming that if insurance sector starts picking up, I mean, look at it on the hourly. It's got all these inside candles right here, and if it does break over this 186 area, I would look for it to push to 193, even 195. So I do like Cigna CI for a push. We'll have to see how it reacts with the market and the news, but I would definitely keep an eye on it. Lilly has COVID-19 news. It had something the other day that we played, so I would keep an eye on Lilly over 160. Let's say 164. We could say 163.50. It gets over that, probably going to end up definitely challenging the all-time. Is that all-time high? Yeah, all-time high. And if it does break all-time high, I would look for it to push to 170. So Lilly, definitely keep an eye on. V-Day, is the last one. I mean, WeDay is holding up pretty good, even though we had a bad Friday in the market. At WeDay, it's holding up. It finished green, it finished near high a day. So I would look for it over 189 for a push to 190, and you get a gap right here into the 198 area. So it does break. If it breaks out over 189, it's probably going to end up going to 200. So that'd be a huge psychological number, and it's filling the gap on the daily. So I would definitely watch WeDay for that push. So yeah, that's going to be it for the watch list. Remember that Friday is holiday. It's going to be a short week. Friday's going to be off for observance of 4th of July, even though it's Friday, the July 3rd, but they're going to have Friday off. So keep in mind that this is a 4-day week, and trade accordingly to the market conditions and be safe, and that's going to do it. Thank you.